All right, shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off first and foremost by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachach, double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace, love, and salutations to the men out there that are pushing this word in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and freedoms to do so. This is your brother Nathaniel from the GMS Camp Atlanta, coming back at you through the spirit, and I pray and hope that it's edifying. Came across this video on TikTok, and I'm going to play it, but before I play it, I'm going to grab a quick precept. This is going to be Habakkuk, the second chapter precept we bring out all of the time. But it's becoming more and more relevant because as this devil's history comes out more and more, right? As his history comes out more and more, he's becoming more and more apprehensive about accepting his history and the things that his people have done to our people. All right. So this is I always go to Haggai to the Habakkuk. Habakkuk, second chapter, and the 16th verse, and it says, "Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory." You see, you took things that weren't yours. You enslaved people that you weren't supposed to enslave on the level that you did. You conquered the world through fraud. And now everything that you've done has come to a head. And you don't want to accept what you've done to the Israelites, to so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You don't want to accept that. So I'm going to play this video, and then we're going to read a couple of paragraphs from these, Buck Breaking and the Willie Lynch letter, and, I'm not going to play it, but, goodbye, Uncle Tom. I'm just going to show you some of the steel clips. But the history, there's nothing that you can pull out of the history of the so-called white man that you can say, man, that was good. Absolutely nothing. Okay? So without further ado, let me let y'all hear it.
Is that a bad thing or is that a good thing?
Sometimes I think the bad things are portrayed more than the good things.
What were some of the good things you feel like
people were taken care of? Would you take a tractor that you just bought brand new and tear it up, misuse it? No, you're going to take care of it because you just spend a pile of money on that. Those people produce their crops, work their fields, so you're not going to mistreat something like that.
Interesting. What do you think Hollywood has gotten wrong? The way the South is depicted regarding slavery?
I would think one would be the beating of people. There may have been one that would do that to their slaves just because they're a mean, bad person, but the majority of them would not do that. They were family. They were like Big Mama, we just loved it. They were just all a big family.
How do you know that to be true?
Because I have family heritage, and I've been told the stories since I was a little girl from people whose grandparents lived it.
The guy.
Now you hear this shit from the devil himself. The devil is a liar, man. He's a deceiver. This devil does not want to accept his history because he doesn't want to accept the consequences of what's going to happen, to this devil. But you can clearly see the level of hatred that these people have for the nation of Israel in the times that we live in now. I mean, like, redlining, gentrification, and all different types of programs that you put into place to hinder the growth of the so-called black man, Native American, and the so-called Latinos and Hispanics, but especially the so-called black man. The so-called black man, you've taken away his whole entire... I mean, you did it to all of Israel. But at least you assign the so-called Mexicans and so-called Latinos a nationality. Black is not a nationality. Black is a color, and none of us are black. So we don't have any representation in the courts. We don't have any representation in the world. We have nothing. You know? But here it is now that the people are actually addressing this stuff and saying something about it, right? Now you want to sit there and say that this shit was what? That it was a big family? No, these weren't indentured servants. These were slaves. These weren't your brothers. These were your enemies. You know, and before I get that, let me grab this precept in the book of Deuteronomy, because the Lord told us what was going to happen. The Lord told us. He said, hey, man, you know, these things are going to happen if you don't obey me. So you did this shit, man. These things you did. You did these things to our people. And now you want to sit there and say that you were all good, kind, and loving? Man, get out of here, man. Y'all not good, kind, and loving now. And that was back then when you didn't have any type of consequence. And now you have very limited consequence toward what you do to our people. You still go into the so-called black communities and poison them with different types of foods and liquids like, you know, milk, you know, and then pharmaceuticals. Why is that so-called blacks are the leading cause of heart disease, the leading cause of diabetes, and all of these debilitating diseases? And the food that they have access to in their communities is toxic food. It's a food desert. But then you go to these so-called white communities and they have organic stuff and this and that for them to stay healthy. You know, you will put blacks, or so-called blacks, in the worst schools, segregate them. And then when you found out that segregation was actually beneficial for them, you decided to integrate them so you can, you know, as they say, keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. So I'm going to start at 32. It says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. 33. Y'all did that. When you go to the Goodbye Uncle Tom, all right, I'm going to just scroll. I'm just going to get a little still screen because I don't want them to strike my channel. So what do you have here? All right, this is man, you damn devils, man. We're gonna go back to Deuteronomy, but that scene just made me think of a precept in the book of Joel. Joel 3:3. And it says, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. You see that? When you go to this picture, I mean, this still image. Let's just I think I'll be okay to play this one because this is for education. You know, people say that the Bible ain't real. You know, they want to debunk it. They want to say garbage about it. But how do you explain this shit, man? This actually happened to our people. We just saw a record of it from the enemy of what they did to our people. Now, of course, they try to make it look like, you know, they treated the people well, but you know they didn't. This is a movie. You know, these people were horrible to our people. But as you can see, I'm going to read it again. Joel 3:3, it says, they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. You see that? So that was actually going on during slavery. So how can you sit there and say out of your mouth while they're selling boys to be ran like they're girls and selling girls for wine? How do you get around that type of shit? And you want to sit there and say we were a happy family? When y'all were sitting on the auction block and y'all were buying these slaves, y'all weren't buying entire families. Y'all was splitting the father from the mother from the children, and it would all go every way. That's what y'all did, right? So how are y'all a big happy family? Man, y'all devils got a lot to pay for, all right? And trust me when I tell you, you are definitely going to pay for it. No ifs, ands, buts about it. All right? So I'm going to go back to the book of Deuteronomy. We're going to go back to 28 and 33, and it says, the fruit of thy, and just to go back on 32, you know, we just saw how they were sold on auction blocks. You know? I didn't pull up that particular scene, but if you watch that movie Goodbye Uncle Tom, you'll see they were sold on auction blocks. And it says the fruit, and the thing is that how can you form your mouth to say this shit? Do you not research your own history and what you've done? Y'all the ones who put these documents out there. Deuteronomy 28 and 33, it says, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt only be oppressed and crushed away. Now, how do you explain that? The fruit of thy land and all of thy labors shall another nation eat up. You know? Let me just look up this word fruit real quick. Wonder what it means. That's what I knew. I knew it. It's the children, the offspring, children, progeny of the womb. That's what they're talking about in this precept right here. It's not talking about fruit. It's talking about the people. And sure, and yes, our people were nothing but consumed and oppressed and crushed away and ate up. That's what the devil do. It says, verse 34 says, so thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. God damn. Shit, this shit is really happening. There's nothing that we can do about it. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed. That's why we got all these damn diseases that we can't get over. From the sole of the foot to the top of thy head. Sickest people in the world. How do we get there? The devil. The one that is in power right now. The one that is in power right now is pushing this shit to keep us in the position that we're in. Okay? The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers know, and there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone, aka Buddha, Krishna, JC, and so on and so forth, Muhammad, and so on and so forth. It says, thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, a byword, a nigga, a spick, a wetback, a tonto, you know, all of these different names that they prescribe for us. Right? Among all the nations where the Lord shall lead thee, all over the world. Okay? Now I'm going to skip down a little bit because I want to get to the meat. I want to go the point that I was trying to bring out. In verse 50, it says, a nation of fierce countenance which shall not regard the persons of old, nor show favor to the young. You see that? Fierce countenance. Let's look up this word fierce real quick. Strong, mighty, fierce. Fierce countenance. You all did not show us any mercy. So you won't get none. Okay? And if you look at these people's faces in here, they're in awe. Like, how can you say something like that? Like, really? So let's get into this Willie Lynch letter a little bit. I'm not going to read all of it, but I am going to read the highlighting points. So I'm going to give you a brief summary of the parts of it that I'm not going to read. Basically, he's talking about how hanging slaves, killing slaves, and all that stuff. What was really happening is you're killing your slaves, and you're losing product and all that stuff. But I have a better way. I have a way to make it to where your slaves will be controlled. And we're about to get it now. It says, I am not here to enumerate your problems. I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method of controlling your black slaves. I guarantee one of you that if installed correctly, it will be in control of the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseers can use it. Okay? Well, what is this method? I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy to control purposes. The methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and they will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences, and think about it. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantation status on plantations, attitude of owner, whether the slave live in a valley or on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of the action. But before that, I will assure you that distrust is stronger than trust. Envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, should carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male. Well, that's what we have today. And the young black male against the old black male. We have that today. They don't give two shits about the old. You must use dark-skinned slaves versus light-skinned slaves. So we hear that nowadays, dark-skinned versus light-skinned. We hear that today. Okay? And the light-skinned slaves versus dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus male and male versus female. Well, that's the fuck what we have today. So how can you form out of your mouth that your people weren't oppressive to our people? How can you form that shit out of your mouth? These things still affect us to this day. These things right here. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all blacks. Racism, racism, which goes as the raza, which means for one's race. So yeah, I mean they hated anything that didn't look like them. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. Right? The world that we live in. You will go to him for the want of all things, as it says in the book of Deuteronomy. Right? And we got it right there in the right here. On 56 it says, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground, for the delicate and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward her husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. You see, those are the curses that were put upon our people. But I'm reading this to show you the correlation between the two. To show you how the prophecy and the action that actually brought it into fruition. Okay? Verse 54, it says, so the man that is tender that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Deadbeat dads. Right? You got those? The deadbeat fathers. We got them. They created it. There was one more precept I wanted to get out here, but I lost it. But if it come back to me, I'll come and get it. Oh yeah, here it is. That's it right there. Call all Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So, what does it says? It says, you must also have white servants and overseers who distrust blacks, but it is necessary that your slaves will trust and depend on us. They must love and respect and trust only us. And this is why these people today, right? This is why they cannot get past, right? This is why they still love their oppressor, because of this shit right here. Right? Because of this right here. So you trust and depend on your oppressor to this very day. This is why the black woman say, I'm not going to ask what's in the infusion. I'm just going to stick my arm out and my arm out and take the infusion. And then you have all the devils behind her clapping like, you know, why they use so-called black women as a target. You know, how to use them as a target to Salaki, in 1 second, I can. All right. Salaki Akim. So these things actually happen. We just read it here in Deuteronomy. All right. Oh, we didn't read it yet. I'm going to read it now. It says, therefore thou shalt serve thy enemy, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall destroy. And he shall put a yoke of iron around thy neck until he destroy thee. Well, if you type, if you just take this little word, these 3 words right here, take them, and they may have taken it down since then, but you put, because we use it all the time. You put this in Google, what do you see? You only see Jake. You only see Jake. Now these are actual images of Jake. And relics of the yoke of iron. You know what? That's not. Let's go here. Here you go. The relics of the yoke of iron that they put on our people. You see that? So how is I'm not well, I understand why you do this, but I mean, like I said, shameful glory. Nobody will want this type of fucking history. Nobody will want this shit. Nobody would want this type of history to be upon them. To know that your people did all of this stuff. This is why you're going to be the most hated of hated people in the kingdom of heaven. There's going to be no, and every single last one of you are going to be known, because in the kingdom, and this is me speaking as a man, all Edomites are going to have the mark of Edom on them. You're not going to have a brown-skinned Edomite. All Edomites are going to look like they're supposed to look. And all Jakes are going to look like Jake's supposed to look. And the heathens are going to look like the heathens are supposed to look. That's what's going to happen in the kingdom. So you're not going to get away from this. The Lord shall bring a nation, verse 49, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce consonants, which shall not regard the person or old, nor show favor to the young. We live in those situations right now to this very day. Okay? This devil is not going to show no favor to the young or old. You know what I'm saying? This devil going to do what he do. Okay? This devil going to do what he do. Okay? Because he's a devil. Now let's go to here, the Willie Lynch letter. And then we're going to bring out the rest of these precepts and wrap it up. I'm sorry, buck breaking. It says, we're going to skip this part. It says, what is buck breaking? Mainly utilized by slave owners in the Caribbean, buck breaking was used against male slaves who were seen as defiant. The process involved slave owners forcing the enslaved man to lower his pants and bend over a tree stump to ensure that his buttocks was propped up in the air. The enslaved man then would then be flogged severely. This would weaken him so that he would not be able to resist the rape that followed. The white slave owners would then proceed to rape the slave several times. This form of punishment was worsened by the fact that it would be done in full view of all the other slaves and people, including the slave's family and friends. In addition to being sexually violated, the slave would also be publicly humiliated. This public punishment would instill fear in other slaves, thus preventing further rebellion. Enslaved men who were victims of this vile punishment often ran away from the plantation or killed themselves as they were unable to deal with the humiliation that they had suffered. And to be honest, I'll probably kill myself too, man, if some shit like this was to happen to me in front of everybody, man. You know, to be 100 with you, that this shit is horrible, and I don't even want to read no more of it, man, because this shit is so hard. But you know, I'm gonna continue going. It says it was often too difficult for them to integrate back into society that had watched them being emasculated in front of their wife, children, and friends. Who would think of some shit like this, man? To do something so horrible, but the devil. And then for you to sit there and say we were one happy family, man, you damn devils are crazy, man. It says buck breaking as a form of punishment grew among slave owners in the Caribbean. It just goes to show you that the so-called white man is a homosexual, man. Because you got to be a homosexual to think of this to do. It says white men were able to travel. White men were able to travel from plantation to plantation, raping male slaves. The punishment became so widely implemented that sex farms developed from the practice. These sex farms allowed multiple slave owners to gang rape male slaves as punishment for any supposed wrongdoing they committed. You see this shit, man? So y'all just start going from plantation to plantation and raping men. And probably most of the time y'all did this, they didn't even do shit wrong. Y'all just wanted to y'all just wanted to sow y'all oats in the men. You know? That's what y'all wanted to do. It says the massive popularity of the practice suggests that buck breaking may have been utilized as an outline for homosexual slave owners to act out their desire on men without attracting the stigma associated with being gay. Yeah. And you want to sit there and say that we were a happy family? I mean, man. Well, I can tell you one thing. We're not going to be a happy family in the kingdom. We are not. Okay. Going back to the precepts, we'll go ahead and finish it up. This is Exodus 21 and 66. And it reads, 21 and 16. 66. 21 and 16. And it says, he that stealeth, because we're going into your judgment now, he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if it be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. We're still in your custody right now, Esau. Revelation 13 and 10. Or start at verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. You have to get your get back, man. You have to. What you've done to the Israelites is absolutely unthinkable. It's absolutely unthinkable. Like no man in their right mind would think to do the shit that you've done, Esau. We've been in other captivities throughout the history of this world, and no one has ever done what you've done. Nobody. This is Zechariah 1 and 15. And it says, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that were at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. You see that? So you took the opportunity to severely oppress the Israelites, because you have been waiting for centuries to get your hands on us, man. That spirit of Esau in Genesis the 27th chapter, where he talks about the days of the mourning of my father are coming to an end, then I shall kill my brother Jacob. So you have been waiting centuries, hundreds of years to get your hand on Jake. And finally, you had the opportunity to. And look at what you did to Jake. Every other nation that had us in captivity, even though they might have oppressed us, they didn't take it to the point you did. This is why the other nations are going to have some form of mercy in the kingdom. You're not. Verse 16 says, Therefore thus saith the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. And as we all know, Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and the line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. So the Lord is going to deliver us from this bullshit that you done put us through, man. The Lord is going to get us out of it. And it's about to happen very, very soon. It don't matter that you want to sit there and lie and deny your history, man, because it's shameful. Indeed, it is shameful. I mean, no nation in their right mind will want to have this type of history in their resume. It's understandable why you don't want to be labeled as Esau and as a white man. Because you have to try to hide the type of demon you actually were. Man. Wow. This is Micah 2 and 2. Let's start at 1. It says, Woe to them that devise iniquity in their bed and an evil work upon their bed. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work an evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. They covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. You don't even want the Israelites to know who they are as a people. You have rewritten history to hide what you have done. You didn't tell the world when you said this, Christopher Columbus discovered America. How are you going to discover something where people are already living on? How are you going to discover that? You didn't discover nothing. You came and raped, robbed, and murdered, and that's what you coveted, this field, which was America, that was already under the possession of the Israelites. Because it goes into that. In the Apocrypha, it says they roughly paraphrasing, it talked about how they traveled to a land where they can keep the law, where they couldn't keep in their own land. Roughly paraphrasing. You see? So, yeah. Yeah, man. This is your history. Verse 3, it says, "Therefore thus saith the Lord, Behold, I am against this family do I devise an evil." So the Lord is against you, and he devised an evil for you, for which you have done, for which you have, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughty, for this time is evil. You see that? You see that? You're not getting out of this, man. You're not getting out of this. Verse 4, it says, "In that day shall one take a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, We be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away, he hath divided our fields." All right. Now, I believe this verse goes into the nation of Israel. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it can be applied to Esau. Okay? Because this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to be utterly spoiled. You're going to be changed from a high estate to a low estate. And you're going to be removed from the position of power that you were given. All of the fields that you have and taken, they're going to be taken and divided eventually. And other nations are going to be given back their land once the world is restored and they serve their sentence as well. So this is what's going to happen to you. Okay? That day is coming up very, very quickly. All right? And this is Zechariah 2 and 8. I just want to get this because, this is the last precept right here. Because this isn't what I wanted. Slack, give me 1 second. Yeah, that was it. I was reading the wrong precept. Slakia. This is Zechariah 2 and 8. It says, "For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye." So this is why all of the other nations are going to get it too. Because y'all all got to pay for what y'all have done to Israel. All y'all have to pay for that. Okay? So the day is coming very, very soon where you're going to have to basically pay for all of the crimes that you've committed against Israel, and it's already happening to you. We're seeing that your kingdom is unraveling and unfolding at every front, and there's no stopping it, on the brink of war with Russia, on the brink of an economic collapse like we've never seen before. So yeah, how you gonna sit there and say that you treated your slaves well when you have a shameful history, man? The audacity of this man. The audacity. All right, so with that, I pray this is an edifying lesson. I'm ended by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kodash. Double honors to our elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and to the next time, Makim. Shalom.